Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel SAP Learning Studio. In this video, we will understand how a complete RAP based Fiori application is built using CDS views starting from the database layer all the way to the Fiori UI. So without wasting any time, let's begin. For this demo, I have already created the table to save some time. If you are not sure how to create a table or how to insert data to it, don't worry, I have explained that step by step in my earlier videos. You can find the links in the description below. Make sure you check them out first and then you continue to this video. So for demonstration purpose, I have created a student database table. We'll cover the interface views, consumption views, metadata extensions, service binding, and service definition, everything step by step. So without wasting any time, let's start with our first CDS view, the interface view. We will be creating a CDS view on top of this database table. So let's right click on your package, go to new, click on other repository objects and type in data, select the data definition, click on next and give in your name. This I underscore is nothing but a prefix telling that it is an interface view. So for interface view, you will be using I underscore, the prefix as I. And the description, student CDS view, click on next. Click on next. And we will be selecting define root view entity as this will be the root CDS view. I have already explained this earlier what this root entity means, and we'll select this template and click on finish. So let me explain it once again. So the CDS view is defined as a root view entity, and it can directly select data from the database, and this view represents as the core business data, and it is closest to the database, and it does not contain any UI logic. So that's why this view is also called as an interface view, and we will be using this table. So let me copy the table name and select from the data source as our student database table. We are not going to have any compositions, so I'll just remove this and click on control space, and I want all the data elements, so I'll select all the data elements. If you see there is an error, it says a reference information missing or data type is wrong. So this is a currency field. I have already defined it over here, so we have to redefine it again in our CDS view as well. So let's do it. Do a control space. So this semantics dot amount dot currency code colon currency, this tells SAP that it is an amount field. Its currency is stored in the currency field, and this enables proper formatting, currency aware UI. Also, it enables analytical compatibility. So just to summarize, the interface view defines what data exists, but not how it is displayed. So the next step is the consumption view, the data definition too, and we will build our consumption view on top of our interface view. Let's activate our interface view. Once your interface view is activated, navigate to core data services under data definitions and choose your CDS view. Right click on it and click on new data definition. If you see, the reference object is our consumption, our interface view, and on top of this we will be creating our consumption view. So C stands for consumption view, and it is just a prefix. So we will be using this C underscore for our consumption view. Consumption view for our interface. Click on next, and again we will use the root view. Let's select projection view. We will define this as a projection view. So select define projection view and click on next and click on finish. Why projection view? Projection view will ensure a clean architecture business logic, and this will have our interface view while UI flexibility stays in the consumption view. And this view is designed for UI consumption. It projects data from the interface view and it controls what fields are exposed to the UI. If you see, there is an error over here. It says root keyword missing. This is because we have defined our interface view as a root view entity. So we have to add the keyword as root over here as well. Again, it says an error. It says reference information is missing. So let's copy this annotation and paste it again and activate our consumption view. After creating a consumption view, the next step is metadata extension. This is an important part for Fiori. Instead of adding the UI annotations directly inside the CDS view, we can define them separately. We can also add all our annotations in this view, but we can do it separately and create a metadata extensions as well. So let's activate this and right click again and click on new metadata extensions, and it will say extended entity. So we are extending our consumption view, which is ZLSC underscore student, and the naming convention for this is nothing but our consumption view name, and we add a prefix as u, and this is metadata extension for our student database, and click on next. Click on next, and we will select as annotate view. We will use this template. This template is given by SAP itself, and click on finish. Now again there is an error. You can simply click on it and it will say add annotation. Click on this and it will automatically add an annotation. I will explain this annotation later. And you must be thinking why we use UI annotations. So UI annotations are special instructions written to CDS views. These instructions tells SAP which fields should appear on the screen, which fields should be filters, or which fields should appear in the table columns, how the object page should look. So in simple words, UI annotations control the design of your Fiori app without writing any code. There is an annotation saying @metadata dot layer. We have to change this from layer and let's keep it as core. You can also hover over the annotation and read the documentation. We will be using core. So what this core means is this metadata belongs to the core application layer. In simple words, it is the main standard layer. It is the base level of metadata, and just think it as a foundation layer. So we have to now define our annotations. So let's add some annotations. Just to save time, I have already written some annotations. I'll explain you those. The first annotation which we will use is the header information. So this controls the object page header. We have written an annotation as @UI header info, and type name is as student, and the title is which we have is student name. I'll show you practically what happens over here. So on our Fiori page, we will have a title, and that title will be based on this student name. Let's insert all our fields. So the title will be based on this student name. Now let's add some facets as well. So we have to define the UI facets under these curly braces. And let me copy this again. So UI facets define selection on the object page. So this at the rate UI facet, this creates a details selection. So we have a details selection, and that groups identification fields. So field level control is done. For each field, it is configured for filters, list, report, and the object page. For example, we can have the selection field, the filter bar, line item, table column, and the position control as well. Let me activate this CDS view as well. And now we need to add annotations for each of our fields. If you see there is an error, this error is because we have to add annotations for each of the field. And for each of our fields, I'll just simply copy paste. So this position simply means that this particular student ID will be at position 1, position 20 meaning this will be at position 2. If you also notice, I have written the code the same logic is written, but this annotation will only check for syntax and not for logic. So we have to be careful over here. So let's fix this. Here as well. And this is nothing but the label. We will have student ID, course name, and the date, enrollment date, student name, fees. So all the columns we have to define those. And now let's activate this as well. If you remember, there was an annotation metadata.allow extension.true. So this is very important thing. This annotation allows us to define UI annotations separately using metadata extensions. Without this, metadata extension will not activate. And with the annotations, only with the annotations, we get a full list report and the object page without writing any UI code. Let me activate this as well. So the next step is we have to create a service definition. We expose the consumption view. We have to use our consumption view. We have to use this and we have to expose this. And let's do it. So right click again and click as new service definition, and the reference object should be our consumption view. So for service definition, we can use as s underscore as a prefix, or you can also use as SD, defining that service. This is a service definition. And click on next again, and click on next, and we have to use this template and click on finish. So now our consumption view is available as an OData service, and this is a best practice. Expose only and only the consumption view. The next step is the service binding. Finally, we will create a service binding, and this service binding will bind it to a OData service, and then we have to publish this service. So let's navigate to our business services under our package and click on service definition. We have this particular service definition. Right click on it and click on new service binding. The service definition is our reference, so we are building our service binding. We are binding our service definition with this service binding. So ZLSB, SB meaning service binding, is the prefix, so we have to use the SB underscore for creating a service binding for students. And here we have to select a binding type. We have different binding types: OData v2 as a web API, OData v4 services. This is something new: SQL web APIs and OData v4 web APIs. For this demo purpose, we'll use v2 services. Here it shows you a pop-up saying you are using v2 services and you can use a v4 service, which is strongly recommended. But since you should be aware of both the services v2 and OData v4, for a demonstration purpose, for this example, we'll use v2 service, and in our upcoming demonstrations, we'll also use v4 services. So click on next and click on finish. So we need to activate our service binding, and once we activate our service binding, there will be an option to publish this service. Let's activate our service binding. Okay, now let's click on publish. So this is the final step where we bind our service to OData v4 and then publish the service, and this enables the Fiori app. So without service binding, there is no UI, and usually this takes some time to publish. And let's have a quick recap of the flow. First, we created our interface view, which is built on top of our table, and then we created a consumption view on top of our interface view. On top of our interface view, I mean our consumption view, we created a metadata extension where we defined all the UI annotations for our report. Then we created a service binding and a service definition. And this is a layered approach and is recommended by RAP architecture and ensures clean and scalable. Also upgrade save applications. Also, I have updated the complete code on my GitHub repository. You can find all the related documents and the source code there. Make sure you check it out if you want to follow along or want to practice it on your own. I have given all the documentations on my GitHub, so do check out. It usually takes some 2 or 3 minutes to publish the services, since it has to create all the artifacts in the background. Select our entity and then click on preview. And this is your Fiori application. Click on go and you have all your data. This is a simple list report. You can click on any, and this is your detail page. So we have created this using just UI annotations. If you notice here the header as the student name, this can be changed using our metadata extensions itself. This is nothing but the header info. We had defined it based on our student name, so we had given the value as student name. If we change this to student ID, let's do it. Let's change it to be as student ID. Activate your metadata extension. Let me activate it again. And let's come to our Fiori app and click on refresh. And now you have the student ID. So this annotation, what it does is it shows you the header info and the value. And this particular UI annotation at line number 6, so this will group by based on the student ID. So for each student ID you will have the details. And let's go back again, click on go and click on any. So you have the student ID, and for each student ID you have a detail page. I have one more important thing to show you. There is something called as feed reader. So under this feed reader, if there are any errors, you can see these errors under the feed reader. So while exposing your metadata extensions or while publishing any OData services, mostly it is a data issue. So you can see the errors under the feed reader. So that's it for the video. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel, and drop your questions in the comment below. I'll be happy to help. Thank you.